This married father of 3 puts the whole family at risk trying to get to that bag. Let's call him Rob, because, well, he ends up robbing a whole lot of banks. Anyway, Rob is from South Central LA, so he grew up around that gang culture. And one day, he was walking home from school with one of the homies when they get into an altercation with some local gang members, and his friend is unalived right there in front of him. Rob vows to get out of the hood once he graduates high school. He didn't end up going to college, but he wasn't on the block or nothing like that. Nah, Rob worked all kinds of different jobs trying to stack his money up. By the time he was 22, he had a box truck business. His goal was to get his CDL and be one of those over-the-road drivers. While pursuing his dream, he meets the woman who would end up becoming his wife. Let's call her Lisa. Lisa and Rob hit it off fairly quickly, and 10 months after meeting, they end up getting married. Things start flourishing for Rob and his family. He ends up getting his CDL, and he's one of those over-the-road drivers like he always wanted. Him and Lisa end up having a couple kids. He drives this black Mercedes on black rims. They even move out of the hood into this nice house he had bought in the suburbs. He was living the life he always wanted. Tell me why. One day, he was loading up his truck at a warehouse and slipped off the ramp onto his back. He was all kinds of messed up. And he was an independent contractor too, so there was no workers' compensation insurance. He was on his own. He was in so much pain, he couldn't even lift his leg to climb up to get into the truck. It took him 8 months to fully heal. The thing is, his medical, credit card, and mortgage bills had been piling up that entire time. And yeah, his wife, Lisa, she did work, but her money wasn't enough. I mean, he was the breadwinner after all. He was like $30K in debt. I mean, it got so bad, they even started getting foreclosure notices on the door. Lisa was understandably scared. Rob felt like he was failing as a provider, a father, and a man. And that's when he came up with a brilliant idea to rob a bank. Remember when I said he had worked all kinds of jobs back when he was younger trying to stack his money up? Well, one of those jobs was providing janitorial services to a bank. He learned a few things during that time that would kind of help him plan how he was gonna, pull off these robberies. First things first, he knew there could be no heaters involved at all. You bring a heater into a bank and you're done. He also knew to choose banks that didn't have any armed security guards. He didn't need nobody trying to play the hero while he was trying to get paid. He changed his appearance by wearing a hat, a neck brace, some nose strips, and he had put on a bunch of coats to make himself appear bigger than he actually was. So when he walked up to the teller at his first bank robbery, he handed her a note that said, "I have a heater, put the money in the bag, and everything will be fine." The teller was terrified and did exactly as she was told. Rob left the bank with $10,000. Rob went back home and quickly turned on the TV and turned it to the news to see if he'd be on it. But nothing. No news stations were covering the robbery. His wife noticed that they were no longer in foreclosure, and when asked about it, of course he lied and said some big shipping job kind of came through and he got paid early, so everything worked out. Now, with $10,000, he's not completely out of debt yet, but that's a nice spot for him to stop and kind of build from there and crawl himself out of debt, right? Wrong. Rob can't stop marveling at how easy and quick that whole thing was. So a week later, he did it again. And this time, he slid off with $15,000. He checked the news again and nothing. So now he's up $25,000 from 2 robberies. I mean, that's real close to the $30K. So I mean, surely now is a good time for him to stop, right? Nope. This was too sweet of a lick for him to just give up. I mean, now that he's so close to getting out of debt, he has to get a little bit more. So once he gets out of debt, he could be a little ahead, right? And 2 weeks later, he does it again on Christmas Eve. He slid off with $20K that time. So quick math tells us he's up $45,000 from all his robberies. He was only $30K in debt. So after all debts paid, he should be up $15,000. That is a great stopping point, right? Especially now that the media has picked up the story and he's being called the neck brace bandit. So he made it out, did 3 robberies, and didn't get caught and got himself out of debt. He won. Tell me why, again, this dude kept going. He figured, yeah, I mean, the media is onto me, but the video footage that the news had showed, it didn't really look good. Like, you couldn't really tell it was me. So he thought the cops were still in the dark. And I mean, he was kinda right. So he ended up doing 3 more robberies and made a grand total of $80,000. But for as smart as he thought he was. He drove that same black Mercedes with black rims to all the bank robberies. He took off the license plate when he actually went to the banks, of course, but after the fourth robbery, as he was driving off, the teller kind of saw the car and described it to the police. And with a distinct car like that, well, the cops just took their time, crossing off all black Mercedes with black rims in the local and surrounding areas off their list until they got to him. Lisa was none the wiser and was devastated when Rob got locked up. Losing Rob to prison greatly impacted the family. Her and the girls even had to stay in a homeless shelter for a while. But Lisa was able to get back on her feet and hold things down while Rob was locked up. For the 6 robberies he pulled, Rob ended up getting 5 years in prison. It was a good thing he never brought no heaters into the bank. Rob has since been released. Him, Lisa, and the kids are all back together again. Moral of the story, don't rob banks. No, quit while you're ahead.